It is interesting. Brady talks about he's sitting next to Kraft. He's got Belichick on the phone. Have you ever had one of those meetings where you got to tell somebody you love or care about, I got to go? Maybe it wasn't with the Raiders, but have you ever had one of those, those moments in your life, Howie?
The only one, and first, you guys are great for being on, and I think we all, in these really challenging times, if you just stare at the news 24/7, you'll just go crazy. And, you offering kind of an opportunity for people to escape, you guys are doing a great job.
Thanks.
You enjoy her, to be commended. The only conversation that I had like that was I had decided to retire in '93 and went to the Pro Bowl and didn't tell anyone in the organization and just retired at the Super Bowl. And that was when I met David Hill and really I didn't have a plan other than we were selling our house in California, wanted to raise the boys somewhere where we thought was, a good place to raise the boys, and we ended up in Charlottesville. And Al was not happy, and it was difficult because Art was my head coach, Art Shell.
Yeah.
And I had played with Art, and Art really kind of brought me up. Art Shell and Gene Upshaw and guys like that brought me up.
Wow.
And
great guys.
So I didn't want to let Art down, and one was the direction of the team. Two, there were some other things that, I'd rather not share. That I just, it was time for me to move in another direction. I'd had 8 or 9 surgeries at that time. And I thought, I went to the Pro Bowl. Let's call it quits on a high note.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're headed in the right direction. And Diane and I had to go in and sit down with Al and have that conversation, and it was not a good conversation.
Yeah. I mean, but when you left, you start your new life.
It was you know what? It was a weight. I tended to be manic about, the preparation and playing, and it was all about football, and, it was 24/7, and I could never shut it off. And if I got hooked once or twice in a game, I'd stay up all night Sunday night and just relive the play in my head. It was, I think I heard you mention when I was on hold, when you decided to make the move, it's difficult, and then you finally make the move, and it's a relief, and you're headed in another direction. I was very fortunate that when I made that move, it was a weight off my shoulders. And, you don't have to be the baddest guy in the world anymore. You could just be, the dad of 3 sons and who's headed in another direction. And, the money wasn't, as anywhere near as good as it is now. To put it in perspective, in 1981, when I was a rookie out of Villanova, out in Oakland, my check was $1,007 after taxes. I drove a used Coupe de Ville with spoke wheels, velour interior, 8-track cassette deck, the big 8-track, the big one. And I was rolling hard in Oakland. But you know what? $1,007 for a kid from the neighborhood I came from was a bunch of money. But, fast forward to 13 years later, and listen, the Raiders drafted me. I couldn't imagine playing for another team. It was them or nobody. Never entered into my mind. And the ironic thing was, he fast forward five years, when I go into the Hall of Fame, he calls me up in Hawaii and offers me a 2-year deal, and I'm 39, 40 years old. And he said, I know you're working out. I know you're in great shape. And I was playing basketball at the University of Virginia at that time when I could still, do all that stuff. And I said, how the hell does he know I'm in great shape? Does he have somebody in the building? Al was, I saw things that and I'll never share most of it, but it was the most unique organization you could possibly play for.
Yeah, it was almost a small business in a big business world. They did things a little differently.
Well, you go from Villanova, where there's a priest on every floor, to the Oakland Raider locker room, and guys are smoking Salem Lights, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, culture shock. Hall of Famer Howie Long. It is interesting about the best teams in college or pro football generally have very strong cultures. How difficult, maybe because the Buccaneers have lost so much, do you think Tom can have a seismic change? Can he change the culture of Tampa in a year?
Well, how many pick sixes did, and listen, Jameis is an extraordinary talent, and I am hopeful that he will go someplace and someone will kind of find the cheat code on, don't make this throw off balance high to whoever from the other team. Their defense, for example, if you just don't turn the football over with a score or turn the football over in your own territory on a regular basis, that defense was pretty good at the end of the year.
It was. By the way, Washington's defensive line, if they get Chase Young with Ron Rivera, if I'm Washington, I could bring him up. I've got all sorts of room. If I don't think Dwayne Haskins, I think Washington I guess the point is Tampa's not that far off. I don't think they are.
Oh, hey, listen. They're loaded. Evans is, and when you play in Tampa or, fill in the blank city, it was like when Chris was playing in St. Louis. You can have 42 sacks in 4 years. If a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Right.
That's the Tampa effect.
Yeah.
And now everything has changed. And they're loaded. And you've got a coordinator that can relate to Tom on a different level, and you've got a head coach who not only can relate to Tom, not that Bill, it's two different conversations. Bill definitively appreciated Tom and what he did. It's just that Bill is as brilliant as Bill is, and he is brilliant. There's Bill, and there's everybody else. And I'd say Pete Carroll's probably, in my mind, second there. He is incapable of changing his approach to coaching players. This is how we do it. This is the formula. And, it's kind of a transient team. You go back and look, and I pulled this up. I remember one year we had them in the Super Bowl. And I pulled it up, and I thought to myself, I remember we did their first Super Bowl game, and I thought there's no way on God's green earth that they could beat the St. Louis Rams.
Right.
I looked at every film there was to look. Terry and I looked, and we just couldn't see a way that they could beat them. And hubris ended up being the downfall of the Rams, not running the football. And they win that game if they do. But they're a transient team because of the way they're built. They're fiscally sound. They don't make wild free agent moves. They take care of their own when it's the right time. They move on, for the most part, 95% of the time, at the right time. It's such a versatile scheme, both offensively and defensively. It changes year to year. It changes month to month. It changes week to week, half to half, quarter to quarter. You have to be great at coaching. You have to have smart players.
Yeah.
And it's the old, I can be you, you can be me. We're all interchangeable. In other words, the right guard can be the left tackle. The center can be the right guard. The defensive end can be the outside linebacker. We're all interchangeable. Therefore, we're all expendable, with the exception of Tom, for the most part, and maybe a Gronk. And the slot receiver has been, we've seen many iterations of that throughout the course of the 20 years that Tom's been there. But you count the number of offensive linemen Tom's played with. You count the number of tight ends. You count the number of wide receivers. You count the number of running backs. The numbers are staggering.
And he just keeps doing it. That's where I think he goes to.
He just keeps doing it, and they keep coaching it.
Yeah, and
now, that's important.
It is, because Tampa's going to be new people, and I think he's going to figure that. I don't think new people bothers Tom. I think he's going to be productive.
Tom has, like Bill, and this is the ironic part, like Bill, Tom has a standard of preparation that everyone around him has to raise up to that level. And I think that permeates through your team, not just on offense, but on defense and maybe in special teams where, that's one thing that New England always kind of stayed up on. Bill has his fingers on every position on that football team. Having had a son that played there, I always wondered what it was like there. I thought I knew what it was like, but, having Chris there and they won a Super Bowl and...
What did he say?
He just said, it's tough. It's a selfless, it is a selfless system. It's not about you. It's about the system, and it's about winning. And you could be playing out of position or in a scheme that doesn't necessarily lend to you being the best player you can be. And nobody cares because it's not about you. It's about us. It's about the team. And that can really wear on players.
Sure.
Over a period of time, and really when you think about it, it's shocking that it lasted 20 years.
Oh, absolutely. Of course it is.
And it's people say it's a shocking move by Tom Brady. It's the most talked about move I've ever heard of. For 2 years now, it's been that way. It's kind of like people guessing when Tom will fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
If you just guess enough, you're going to be right at one point because he's 43 years old. Of course you're going to be right.
Yeah.
Now would be the time. It's a stock to sell.
Yeah. Hey,
but he's going to I hope he really does a great job down there. I hope they raise their level as a team, and I hope he enjoys it because he deserves it. He really does.
Yeah. By the way, I love Travis Frederick retiring today because I am a big believer. I want my great players to go to a podium or a speaking engagement, and I want the imagery to be, I use you as an example. I want them walking up, looking good, barrel-chested, happy, funny, smart. I don't want guys hobbling up to a dais or a podium at the Hall of Fame. I love the idea that players get paid enough now that they can retire at 29 years old. Calvin Johnson, doesn't Luke Kuechly. I looked at Travis Frederick retirement, and I'm like, this is good for football. I want my guys out at 29.
Here's the thing about most players that have played at a high level. Mediocrity is not something that, you could continue to play and be good, but not great.
Yeah.
Not let's say you weren't a Pro Bowl player anymore and you're, Pro Bowl, whatever your kind of standard is.
Right.
That's difficult to handle.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle being great because it drove me crazy. I didn't enjoy football or my career until I was done.
Yeah.
And then I had the opportunity to look back on it with perspective and distance.
I've talked to golf pros who have said that. They're like, it's like, I'll enjoy this when I've retired. I'm teaching now. I don't get to play as much. No, I get it. Like we say this all the time. People are like, oh, you have a great job. And I'm like, it's work. I enjoy the work. But it's not, I don't go there every day saying it's just going to be fun. We got a show to do. Joy and I got to fill 3 hours a day, and we've got no games. So it's,
Yeah, I've apologized. I know how much you prepare, and to do the kind of show that you do is really amazing. Every day you got to show up, and you've got to be informed, and you've got to be on top of things, and you've got to find ways to, pique the interest of your audience in multiple sports and genres and topics and all that. It really is. I've apologized to my kids.
Oh, really?
For when I was a player, because I was so obsessed with it.
Yeah.
It's nice to just be able to be a dad and coach Little League Baseball for 8 years and coach high school football for 8 years, and having had the opportunity to do that was really special.
Yeah, and you are a great dad. It's just, listen, it's plus we're all different. You're 20, you're 30, you didn't have a ton, and you're making it finally. And now look at your life. It's a series of commercials and free haircuts.
It ought to be illegal. No, really, it should be. It's embarrassing. And when you call home, you can't tell Uncle Billy, hey, Uncle Billy, I bought a, whatever, a watch that's expensive, or added a guest house on. It's too much. Uncle Billy can't comprehend that.
Yeah. Good talking to you, buddy. Howie Long, Hall of Famer.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.